Welcome to lesson number 2. And today what are we looking at? We're multiplying and dividing integers. So I'm not so worried about being able to multiply the numbers. It's those signs again. So I can multiply and divide positive and negative integers. And again, I'm going to work without the calculator. You're not being tested, so there's no pressure. If you make a mistake, I'm more worried about the signs, to be quite honest. So, general rules for signs when multiplying and dividing. So, most of you will have the rule memorized, and we're going to stick with it. I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. For both multiplying and dividing, excuse me, for both multiplying and dividing, if you take two positives and multiply them together, what do you get? And I don't see any hands up. It's a trick question. I can't see you anyway. So if you have two positives we multiply together, the result is a positive. If you have a positive multiplying a negative, the resulting number will be a negative. If you have a negative multiplying a positive, the answer is negative. And finally, what happens when you multiply two negatives together? The result is a positive. And this is where that expression comes from, two wrongs make a right. Two negatives make a positive. Not quite true in real life. Okay, two wrongs don't make a right. But anyhow, it does in math, so right on. So, the pattern you'll notice here, okay, and I don't really want to highlight it because when I photocopy it, it comes out as black. You'll notice that for the two answers that gave us positives, what do you notice? What was the trend here? In order to get a positive answer, the two initial signs had to be the same. So what I'm looking at is that here we had two positives, the signs were the same. Here we had negatives. Okay, signs are the same. So if the signs are the same, the result is a positive answer. So in general, if the signs are the same, the result will be positive. Okay, so I'm just going to put that in a bubble. We're going to talk about some of the what-if scenarios coming up here in the note. So determine if the following will be positive or negative answers. So I don't really care what I don't even care what the answer, the number is going to be. I'm worried about the sign. That's what I'm worried about. So if I give you -2, and I'm going to show you, this means multiplication. If you have brackets side by side, that means multiplication. Okay, and I'm going to show you the different ways multiplication can be shown, just so that when you see it, you're comfortable with it. So two brackets side by side mean multiplication. What's it going to be? Is it going to be a positive answer or a negative answer? That's all I care about. You have a negative number multiplying a negative number. My answer is going to be positive. All right. If I had positive 3 multiplied by, oh, I was going to show you different formats. You can actually use the multiplying sign. -5. What will my result be? Is it going to be a positive or a negative? The signs are opposite of each other. So we have a positive here, a negative here. Signs are opposite. If you have opposite signs, the result is a negative number. Third one, in old textbooks, this is what it looks like. If I have +6 multiplied by +3, and the reason they use the dot in the old days is that it's easier to type it in on the computer, or it was typewriters back then. But anyway, a dot always also represents multiplication. So we have a positive and a positive. Signs are the same. And we end up with a positive. Now, let's make you think a little bit. What happens if I give you this? -2 times -5 times -4. Now I'm multiplying three terms together, or three numbers together. You got to break it apart and do what you know. So for example, you know that these two negatives, when we multiply -2 and -5 together, that signs that are the same are going to result in a positive number. So -2 and -5 is going to result in a positive number. We still have to multiply this positive by a negative number. So here is the new sign that's multiplying the -4. Those signs are not the same. They're opposite of each other. So the result here will be a negative number. So you got to do this in pairs or partners as you go across. Okay? Do another example for you. -3 times +5 times -2 times -6 times -8. Again, I'm not worried about the number, okay? So don't panic over that. All I want to do is I want you to tell me whether it's a positive or a negative result. So we know that when we multiply the first two numbers together, I'm going to end up with a negative. When I take that new number and multiply it with the -2, a negative and a negative, I now have a positive number. I'm going to take that positive number, I'm going to multiply it with a negative. Signs are different. So now I have a negative, and a negative times a negative in the end will result in a positive. So my final answer then, I guess the way I've put underneath here, it's equal to a positive number. Now I'm not going to put number 5 is not something I would put on a test, but if you can follow that through, then you have a complete understanding of it. All right, now we're going to start doing some calculations. All right, so again, I want you to try this without the calculator.
Just a quick reminder that we are going to have...
We're using small numbers, so you're going to be able to do them in your head, I hope. So for example, -2 times +7. So what I want you to do, I want you to tell me the sign first. So the signs are opposite of each other. Negative times a positive is a negative. And now you do the number. 2 times 7 is 14. All right. Now up above, I should have been using division as well. Division works the exact same way. So I'm going to throw an example in here of division. What happens if I have -10 divided by -2? So division can be written with the fraction symbol. So it's the exact same rule whether it's multiplying or dividing. And maybe I should go back and just stress here, since I didn't do it, I apologize. Same rule for division. All right, same rule for division. That doesn't change. So here, do your signs first. You have a negative dividing a negative. Signs are the same, so that means my result will be positive. Then you do the number. 10 divided by 2 is 5. One more example. What happens if I have +6 divided by -2? In this case, the signs are different, or they're opposite. Opposite signs result in a negative number. 6 divided by 2 is 3. All right. And like I said, when we get into the more complicated numbers, you're going to use the calculator, but I want you to try without the calculator to start. So just a couple more here, just to finish this off. So what happens if I have -2 times -6 divided by -4? All right. So here are your upper end of your more challenging questions. So what I would recommend, okay, do the top first. Okay, do the -2 times -6. So what do we know when we multiply two negatives together? So I'm not going to do anything with the -4. I'm going to just write it down. Negative on top, sorry, I'm getting all over the place on you. Negative times a negative, so I'm looking on top. Negative times negative is going to result in a positive number. 2 times 6 is 12. Now, let's look at a positive and a negative. When we do division, signs are opposite of each other, or they're different, so that means it's going to be a negative answer. And now we do 12 divided by 4 gives us 3. All right. One more example with that. So if I had, let's go with, I'll give you a tricky one, positive 5 times negative 2 times negative 2 divided by, let's go with negative 4 again. All right, so let's look at the top. If we look at the top there, we have a positive multiplying a negative. So that would mean signs are different. So we're going to end up with a negative when we do the first two. And then that negative is going to multiply a negative. And a negative multiplied by a negative is positive. So the number on top is going to be positive. Now we do our multiplication. So we do it one step at a time. 5 times 2 is 10. Multiplied by 2 more is 20. So I don't have to worry about the signs. I'm doing this separately. I do the signs first, and then I do the numbers. And that's divided by negative 4. Once again, our signs are opposite of each other. So that means if the signs are opposite, the result is a negative number. 20 divided by 4, and you'll get 5. So we're going to try some of that to finish it off today, and we'll talk about when we get in the group to see if there's any points of confusion.